Yeah.
My favorite.
It's Judd's Hockey Show.
That's right. It's Judd's Hockey Show. And ladies and gentlemen, we are nearing the beginning of training camp. First day on the ice for the Wild, September 21st, which I believe is 2 weeks from yesterday as we're recording this on a Friday. So we are very close to having gotten through the off-season for the Wild and the National Hockey League. And we're about to get into a very controversial bit that Declan told me about. We're basically going to be jettisoning some people, costing them their jobs, and also keeping people. But before we do, I want to tell you that it's time for throttle therapy on land and on the water, and it all starts at the Lodge. Power Lodge. Cruise the water in a luxury on a brand new Bennington pontoon, as you're looking at right there from Power Lodge. Enjoy sunset from the water, entertain the kids, and float on the lakes all summer long. It starts at the Lodge. Twin Cities' newest Bennington dealer, the Power Lodge, with locations Brainerd, Onamia, Ramsey, and Miller Marine of St. Cloud. Hundreds of pontoons in stock across all Power Lodge locations. And yes, summer is coming to a close, but there's still some nice weather left. I saw we're going to be in the 80s a week from Sunday, so there is still time to enjoy throttle therapy. And, you know, with Viking season and Wild season starting, throttle therapy for a Minnesota sports fan, never a bad idea. So enjoy Power Lodge and Miller Marine, and we thank them also for their sponsorship. Make sure you tell them that the Score North guys sent you if you do visit. All right, Declan, I'm going to turn it over to you. 2 weeks from training camp. Why are you trying to cost people their jobs?
I'm not trying to cost anyone their jobs per se.
No, cost them. You're cutting people.
I know. I'm going to change the branding here on air production meeting. I just want to know if we kicked around this idea a little bit at the end of last week's Judd's Hockey Show. So I figured, why don't I just take that idea of who is playing their last season with the Minnesota Wild? And I've told you before we cracked the mics, this is now Declan's Hockey Show because I'm going to lead this charge. I'm going to put the ball on the tee.
Rogue.
And then you can go, and then actually we can pass the puck back and forth. Zuccarello, Kaprizov. Just for the love of God, Judd, if there's an open net, just shoot, okay? And let me know when to shoot as well.
Okay.
Does that work?
Let's do it. Let's get to it.
And by the way, I'm going to ignore it. Kirill Kaprizov is not playing his last season with the Wild. There's some parameters here.
Okay, good.
That I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure we're really clear.
I didn't expect you to say Kirill, but
yes. Kirill and Boldy are off this list.
Okay.
No. Sounds good? Okay.
Okay, perfect.
All right, we'll start with maybe some easy ones, and then we'll materialize down from forwards, defense, goalies, etc. Matt Zuccarello. Is Matt Zuccarello playing his last season with the Wild, Judd? He is under contract for the last year of his deal. He makes $6 million right now. He is 36. Is Matt Zuccarello playing his final season with the Wild?
Yes, I believe he is. It is. Now, I know he is Kaprizov's sort of mentor. It feels like he's sort of his father figure, if not his best friend. But he's going to be 37. He's definitely showed some signs of age last season. And, you know, it's hard to put that genie back in the bottle. You can't stop time. So, yes, I'm going to say that Matt Zuccarello is in his last year, partially because of this, too. There's some kids coming up the pipeline.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this farm system's got some kids. It's got some kids in Iowa. It's got some kids in Russia. So, yes, I'm going to say that Matt Zuccarello will either retire after this season or have to find employment elsewhere. You know what might be fun for him? A swan song on Broadway.
I was about to say that.
Beloved Ranger. I mean, those people love him way more than we do. So, yep, this is going to be it.
Yeah, I think this is one of the easier ones that we'll do. Honestly, after he signed that first contract and that poor first year he had, this would look like, oh, God, how are they going to survive this? And now that it's a contract year, Matt Zuccarello, I'm going to say this, delivered on the contract. I'm not going to say he exceeded the contract.
Oh, yeah.
He delivered on this contract. It helps when you get a superstar player to play with him.
But he helped him.
But after the first year, I think we all had a doom and gloom of, oh, my God,
it's a bad contract.
What did they do? No, this turned out to be a fairly good deal. It worked out really well.
Yeah, what he did, I think what he meant and what he has meant for Kirill justified the entire thing. And now I don't think Paul Fenton was anywhere near smart enough to know that. I think Paul Fenton did a dumb contract. And if I'm not mistaken, Paul Fenton swooped in as like a fantasy league player and like offered Zuccarello way more than the second highest. But yes, the Kaprizov, how in sync he has been with Kirill, I think that I think you're right. I think it's Fenton's dumb luck that this actually worked.
All right, next guy on this list. This one's interesting. Marcus Foligno. Has Marcus Foligno play? Is he entering his last season with the Minnesota Wild? Foligno is under contract for $3.1 million for this season. Then he is a UFA in about 10 months. Marcus Foligno has an A on his shirt. Foligno has also exceeded expectations after a rocky rookie per se season with the Wild. Is Marcus Foligno, Judd, playing his last season with Minnesota?
While I thought he might be a trade chip this offseason, it was made very clear by our friend Billy Guerin that he was not going to move Foligno. And I'm going to assume that Bill Guerin and Dean Evison will be in their current roles with the Wild 1 year from now. And if that's the case, I'm pretty convinced Marcus Foligno will be here as well. So I've backed off on my stance a little bit, not because I think that Marcus Foligno is this untouchable commodity, but these guys love him, and he sort of sets a tone that they love, and Bill Guerin loves character guys, and Marcus Foligno's a character guy. So I'm going to say that my feeling that Bill Guerin might get rid of Foligno was just flat out wrong, and Marcus Foligno stays.
I think he's gone.
Okay.
I think he is gone. If he wants to come back on a team-friendly deal, which I'm guessing he is not necessarily opposed to, he's 32 years old. Does he want to, move around a little bit? But I don't want to get into the habit of signing bottom six forwards to long-term deals. Even though he's a heartbeat and means a lot to this team, I think he is playing his last season with the Wild. Would it shock me if he is back, though? No, it would not shock me. I would move on, though.
I think he will be willing to take what they consider to be a very fair market value contract.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think he'd play hardball.
Yeah, if he did play hardball, it probably would change my answer a bit, but I'm going to guess that he won't, and Bill Guerin definitely loves the guy.
All right, next one, Ryan Hartman, entering the last year of his deal. Now remember, he signed a 3-year contract right before that 30-goal campaign that looked like one of the best deals in the NHL for a guy who popped up finally as a first-round draft pick, scores a bunch of goals, and now he's ironically enough entering the last year of his deal. He is 28 years old, and he's entering a contract season, and he is the ifdo de facto #1 center, and you don't know how good Ryan Hartman is. Blah 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 blah. I'm sorry, I'm piling on. I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, you've been on track
is Ryan Hartman, Judd, playing his last season with the Wild?
Yes, he is. He signed a contract that was just an incredible team-friendly contract. I think he's going to look for more next time. I think it's time to cut the cord there. Ryan Hartman is in his last season with the Wild.
I'm going to go with no. I think they're going to like Ryan. I think they like Ryan Hartman. Now, what probably puts the Wild out of position to get him is if Hartman has another career year and realizes, man, I'm an idiot for signing that first one before I had the career year. Now he's in a contract season. Let's say he proves both of you and me very much wrong, and he does go out and score 30 goals again. I don't think that's going to happen. Let's go down that path, right? He has then priced himself out of the Wild. They still got another year of these Parise Suter buyouts. He'll go cash in from someone else, and he's gone. If he is still Ryan Hartman, the one that we have known for the majority outside the outlier of his 30-goal campaign, I think he is brought back for the same price they would pay for Marcus Foligno.
Oh, see, I think they'd keep Foligno above Hartman.
And character-wise, you're right.
I think they love Foligno more.
I think age-wise and production-wise, I think it'd be wiser, per se, just from, this is not always the best way to look at it, but from a cap-building standpoint, to give that money to a younger player than an older player.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with Foligno stays, Hartman leaves, and you go with the exact opposite.
Next on the list for you, Judley, Brandon Duhaime, also entering the last year of his deal, $1.1 million, a 26-year-old. He is a UFA this summer. Is Dewey, as they call him, playing his last season with the Wild?
This is all predicated on his 2023-24 campaign, right? Because if he has a big year, he probably almost certainly walks because he's going to get a payday elsewhere. And to your point, they still have a year of cap problems. Now the cap will go up again, but it's not going up, as we've talked about, countless times. It's not going up enough. So now he's going to be a bottom six guy. So there's no guarantee he has a great year. But I will say he ends up leaving. But again, if he has a if he doesn't have, a real productive year points-wise, he probably stays for cheaper than he would like. But he strikes me as the guy that could bounce around a bit. Very, very productive at what he does. He's not a great player, but that's fine. But I'm just going to guess for the sake of I can't say I don't know, I'm going to say he leaves.
I think he stays because I think he knows who he is, and you can just find these solid guys who are bottom six, even fourth line guys. And I like Dewey. Dewey's a good player, and I don't think he's going to break the bank either. I think he'll have a productive Brandon Duhaime season. I don't think there's an offensive juggernaut that hasn't been unleashed here. I think he knows who he is, and I think he can lock up this guy afterwards. But would it shock me if they had moved on? No, it certainly would not.
He strikes me as the type of player who, if he has a halfway decent season, one team will come along and offer more than Bill Guerin wants to pay him.
Okay. Here's an interesting one. I'm going to throw you a curveball here.
Okay.
Jacob Middleton has 2 years left he has a year left after this deal, so he's under contract through 2025, and then he is a UFA. Okay. He is making $2.4 million for the next 2 seasons, Judd, including this one. He is 27 years old. Is Jacob Middleton playing his last season with the Wild?
No, he stays. They love him. No. He has been... First of all, he's one of Bill Guerin's greatest accomplishments, because here's a guy that you got from the Sharks, and we had heard of him, but we didn't know jack about him. And then he turns into a top pairing guy with Spurgeon. He's steady. He is what, he's certainly not flashy, but he's what you want in a defenseman who's going to play a ton of games. So, no, I think he's in the Foligno camp of being a Bill Guerin and Addison favorite. And I think the Wild values stability, and Jacob Middleton provides that. Plus, he's a good guy in the locker room in the room. So, yeah, I'm saying he is back.
So here's the funny thing. If they didn't have buyout problems, Judd, I think Jacob Middleton is extended to a new deal right now.
Sure.
Or at least those extension talks might have been starting to pick up a little bit. This is... you can make the case of, hey, they got to survive, I believe, one more summer, right, of the Parise-Suter buyouts. So They have this year and then next year. Yep. And then, you get the floodgates start to open up, at least cap-wise, a little bit, and it makes them easier to sign. But do you want to go up to UFA status with him too? That's also an interesting spot here. If they didn't have buyout hell, I think Jacob Middleton gets a raise and gets a new deal by opening night potentially this year.
Sure.
But they have to kind of now weigh out this situation. I'm with you. I don't believe he's playing his last season, but also if the Wild do go in the tank per se and they're just awful, Jake Middleton's a very enticing player that could probably get you a significant return.
Yeah, I just don't see them going in the tank. I think they have enough to. I think they have enough to maintain being a really solid regular season team. The more I've thought about this, because I sort of felt doom and gloom going into last season and turned out to be wrong. Now, are they going to win a playoff series? I have no clue. But I don't see them tanking. I think when you have Kaprizov, I think when you have the components, the blue line, like they got a good blue line. Mm-hmm. And I know Dumba's gone, but that's not gonna break them. So I don't think they're in any position to be like a bottom feeding. Okay, let's clean house because we're gonna get a lot for a guy.
Interesting one for you here, Calen Addison. Is Calen Addison, who is I believe still an RFA, right? He doesn't have a deal.
Yeah, but he has no leverage.
Right.
Can't go to arbitration, so he basically is going to have to just sign what they put in front of him. He's just been, I guess, dragging his feet. I don't know how that works. He's just screwed.
And I don't know, things get wonky before the season starts, but is Calen Addison playing his last season with the Wild, Judd?
If Dean Evison
really hasn't played a lot.
Yeah, if Dean Evison is back, my answer is yes. They've got some guys, in the pipeline defensively. They have shown beyond being a power play specialist, it's weird. Bill Guerin got him in the Zucker trade, but yet the head coach doesn't really seem to embrace him. He doesn't play a good enough... He's the anti-Jake Middleton. He's too small in their mind and not good enough defensively. So, yeah, I think he is gone. He's a guy I wouldn't be surprised if he does not make it through the season. I mean, when you bring in Johnny Klingberg to try to replace him, and Klingberg had some nice skills, but my God, defensively, that guy could be a sieve. No, I think he is. I think he might be about to enter his last training camp. I don't know. He makes it out of the season with the Wild.
Just two more positions or two more players left from the same position.
What's your response though?
Oh, I'm sorry. I ignored Kalen Addison. You're right. Addison's here.
Okay.
I think Addison's here. You got Alex Goligoski. I skipped over Alex Goligoski for a reason because it's
He's gone.
he's gone.
Been fun.
So you need some spots left. John Merrill's still under contract for 2 more seasons. I think Kalen Addison fits in here, and I think he's here beyond 2023-24,
Hope you're right.
not just an opening night potential issue.
They love guys like Johnny Merrill so much.
That's true, though. They do. All right, both goaltenders, Judd. Philip Gustafsson, $3.7 million, got a new deal this year, coming off a career season. He's your number 1 goalie going into the year.
Yep.
Again, under contract through 2026. But is Philip Gustafsson, even though he'd only play 1 year of that contract, is he here beyond this season?
Oh, yeah. He, 2024-25 opening night, Jesper Wallstedt, Philip Gustafsson. But, I mean, we're done with the goaltender starts 65 games days.
Yeah.
Like we're done with that. So if Gus, I think Wallstedt eventually emerges as the one, but in 24 or 25, they could split it, but Gustafsson's still going to play a bunch of games. So yeah, unless he comes unglued and, last season turns out to be a fluke and he's not any good, which, until we see that, I don't expect that. I think Philip Gustafsson very well could play out that entire contract here.
Interesting, because I see the last point you made there of playing it out, but I could also see if Wallstedt comes up because there's an injury to either Gus or Fleury, and he just plays out of his mind or up to his potential that Wallstedt is being projected to play, and you have a new number 1 goalie. Yes, you can still do the 50-50, 55-45 split with both of them, but does another team come in and say, hey, Philip Gustafsson deserves to be our number 1, and now he's your 1B or 2 to Jesper Wallstedt, we'll give you a first or second round pick. I could see that playing out. I could 100%
I don't think you get a first round pick though, because to your point about goaltending, I don't think that you would get a first round pick now.
I don't know. Well, it depends how desperate you get. He wouldn't fetch you a first round pick in the true off season. He would not, let's say he has another Gustafsson season.
Sure.
I don't even still think he gets you a first round pick in the summer months of 2024.
Agreed.
But at the trade deadline or something, what other teams, when the price of poker is higher and they need a need right away, are they willing to overpay for that position? That's when it could happen.
I think that the need for 2 goaltenders is so strong and Fleury is so close to being done that I don't think that they would tempt fate there.
Yeah. And by the way, Marc-Andre Fleury, yes, entering his last season with the Wild.
Well, yeah, I would love to see him. I would love to see him put together a solid year. I mean, covering him is a privilege. I would love to see a solid season and then ride off into the sunset. If there's a chance at some point if Wallstedt pops and can play here, if there's a chance for him to go back to Pittsburgh, that would be really cool for him.
That's likely, yeah.
But I mean, I want this to end. Make no mistake, I want this to end well, but I want him to retire fairly soon. I do not want him to hang on. Watching him struggle would be against the Zolgad rules. Like, it would be offensive to me to watch a guy who is that spectacular struggle. So I hope he's in his last year. I hope it ends well. And yeah, I would fully expect that he should not be back here for training camp next season. And in fact, I think he should probably ride off into the sunset after 23-24. Good stuff.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good list there. I mean, I gave you mostly UFAs. I mixed in a couple other, team control guys as well.
You didn't bring up the head coach, though.
I think Dean's here. Dean's here.
What happens if they go? What happens if they have a solid regular season, which they very well could?
Oh, I see what you're going.
And they go out in 5 or 6 games again.
It's much more likely he gets fired that way than them missing the playoffs. Does that make sense?
100% agree with you. Yeah, I don't. Again, the more I think about this, I don't think we occasionally think, oh, it's going to be a train wreck. It's going to be a train wreck. It's going to be a train. I don't think it's going to be, man. I think they have proven that they can milk points from the season. And Dean in the regular season, he gets a lot from teams.
Yep.
But boy, you've had two playoffs, first round losses that have been like cookie cutter against two different teams with two different teams you had.
Yep, and then include the Vegas one. Even though you were a quote unquote underdog, you still took him to 7. Like there is 7-6-6. So I mean, he's got enough of a sample size now in the playoffs that if you add the fourth one in this year and it's another 5 or 6 game ouster, I think Bill, as much as he loves Dean, would have to know. All right, I got enough to see what I've seen enough of this pretty much.
The Vegas one, I came away a little bit impressed. They took him to 7. They weren't as good, they weren't. But the last two, man,
last two have been bad.
You
should
should win.
2-1 leads.
You should have won exactly, and you went from like, oh yeah, okay, here's a corner being turned to bang at the same exact time.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I think it's way more likely he'd be fired for that than just a team that misses the playoffs and has underperformed all year. Personally.
September 21st, we're on the ice.
We're getting closer, and our friend Jessie Pierce, she was supposed to be on this show, had to bow out last minute. She had something going on. No, she's fine. She's fine.
They're doing hockey. Okay, she's gone.
She's got. I don't know
golfing.
How.
She's her beer cart work.
Jesse Pierce has. If you think, I think I have some plates that I have to spin all the time at work. I got nothing on JP.
Dude, you don't have kids. She's got the kids. She golfs. She works at a golf course. She writes. She's always at hockey stuff.
Mm-hmm. Hardest working woman in Minnesota sports.
And
media.
you know who the saint is? Jesse's husband.
Jesse's
husband's he's a real saint. He's going to
big
send
fan
right
of Score North. Shout out to him.
I love him. Great
Shout
guy.
out to him. Hit the subscribe button. Daily Minnesota Sports Entertainment. This is Judd's Hockey Show. As Judd said, we're getting closer and closer to training camp. Head on over to Purple Daily. Vikings Vent Line will be live on Sunday after the Buccaneers game. Plenty of stuff at your disposal right here at Score North. And pass, shoot, score.